Hey everyone, it's Lucky with Unfiltered Lucky. And today I want to talk a little bit about something that I came across again when I was researching for another video. And I've been thinking about this all morning. Do you remember when the professional cleanup crew went to the King Roadhouse to clean up the crime scene? And they were barely just getting set up when they were contacted and told to stop everything that they were doing immediately. A lot of people thought that the reason that they were halted from cleaning up the crime scene was because they also arrested Bryan Kohberger on the same day that this cleaning was beginning. And that was on December 30th. Now, that was a Friday. And Bryan Kohberger was arrested in the very early morning hours. I believe it was 3 a.m., depending on your time zone. Now, Chief Fry had already announced that this cleaning crew would be going into the King Roadhouse that Friday. And he announced it at a press conference on Thursday, the day before. Now, this is also the day before Bryan Kohberger was arrested. So before they even had the suspect in custody, they already had plans to clean and sanitize the entire house. A lot of us heard through the media that law enforcement had halted the cleaning of the King Roadhouse because they had just arrested Bryan Kohberger on the same day that this cleaning began. And the media was kind of putting the idea out there that law enforcement stopped cleaning because they wanted to preserve any evidence against Bryan Kohberger. But it was actually quite the opposite. It wasn't law enforcement at all. It was Ann Taylor and Bryan Kohberger who requested that the house be sealed and preserved. They wanted the crime scene left intact. So it wasn't law enforcement at all. And when Chief Fry was asked about why the cleaning was halted, he basically just stated that it was because of a court request. He never mentioned that it was the defense that made that request. Ann Taylor made this request immediately after Bryan Kohberger was arrested. And it's a good thing, because if she would have waited one more day, then the King Roadhouse would have been squeaky clean and free of any evidence left behind. Now, this all happened on the 30th, on December 30th. Bryan Kohberger was arrested on the 30th. The cleaning started on the 30th. It was halted on the 30th. And Ann Taylor made that request on the 30th. So that's how fast that things were moving. Now, her request was granted, which gave Ann Taylor and her team, along with a private investigator, access to the crime scene, which they went into just a few days later on January 3rd. The defense did a lot of analysis at the crime scene. And they even did a reconstruction, which isn't common for a public defender. So Ann Taylor was on top of everything. And I'll be the first one to admit that I did have my doubts about Ann Taylor as Bryan Kohberger's attorney. I just kind of felt like she might have too many personal connections to everyone else in this small town. But in my opinion, I think that Ann Taylor may have been playing a little bit of possum in the very beginning. I think she might have been laying the groundwork, maybe setting some traps for what she was about to unload in the hearings. In my opinion, Ann Taylor is Bryan Kohberger's best chance at a defense. And I do think that she has more tricks up her sleeve. So she's not playing any games. And I feel like her confidence is a good look for the defense. So let's get back to this cleaning crew that showed up to the King Roadhouse on December 30th, which is the same day that Bryan Kohberger was arrested. So this had already been planned. You know, Chief Fry announced that this cleaning crew would be going in the day before, on that Thursday, the 29th. So this had already all been planned as they are in Pennsylvania getting ready to arrest Bryan Kohberger. So does it seem strange that they were cleaning and sanitizing, or they had plans to clean and sanitize the crime scene on the same day that they arrested Bryan Kohberger? I mean, Moscow Police Department had already moved all of the belongings out of the King Roadhouse, which was an active crime scene. And they drove those belongings away in a U-Haul truck. Now, this was more than 3 weeks before this suspect was even arrested. So I imagine that Ann Taylor heard Chief Fry say in that press conference that the cleanup crew was going to be going in the next day, and she quickly put a stop to it. Now, if that cleaning crew would have gone into the King Roadhouse on the 30th and actually cleaned and sanitized that entire crime scene, that would have been the last step in eliminating any and all evidence that may have been left behind, other than, of course, destroying the house and driving it away and burying it in a secret location, which we know did happen later. So it wasn't law enforcement that halted this cleaning. It was actually Ann Taylor and Bryan Kohberger. Now, let's not forget that Bryan Kohberger has a background in the collection of evidence. So this is something that I also thought about. Is it possible that Bryan Kohberger wanted this crime scene preserved so that he could look at the photos and the video and see if he had left any evidence behind? Because that's also a possibility. Or did he just want to make sure that this crime scene was left intact so that his people could process it correctly? Either way, it seems as though law enforcement and the prosecution would know that this individual who was arrested's attorney may want to take a peek at that crime scene, since Bill Thompson has been part of this investigation every single step of the way. Now, Ann Taylor's request was basically that the house, the vehicles, any outlying buildings, so any sheds or anything like that, and the entire property of 1122 King Road be preserved and left intact. The court granted her until February the 1st. So law enforcement and this prosecution, they could not eliminate this crime scene and any evidence involved with this crime scene off of the face of this earth fast enough. They were already removing everything out of this active crime scene on December 7th. Only 3 weeks after these crimes occurred, and they put it all in a U-Haul truck. They were basically moving full speed ahead on a full-blown cover-up. They were basically eliminating any information that was out there. They were eliminating any evidence that may have been left inside the King Roadhouse. And eventually, their plans, and they did follow through on these plans, was to demolish the entire house, which is exactly what they did. Now, a lot of us including some of the parents of some of the victims, really would have liked to have seen that house preserved for the trial. It seems really odd that the University of Idaho, now this is an off-campus house. This house is not on campus. But the University of Idaho and the prosecution was in an extreme rush to demolish this house. Now, not only did they demolish this house, they went in very early in the morning. It was still dark. And they began demolishing this house. But they didn't just tear it down. They collected it all up and drove it away to a secret location where they buried it underground so that nobody could ever find it. That's not odd. Then they went back to the property at 1122 King Road and scorched the earth. Okay, I made that up. But they were in a real hurry to eliminate anything that had to do with this crime scene. And in my opinion, this has all of the makings of a cover-up. In my opinion, this is what we were witnessing. We were witnessing a cover-up right before our very eyes. They were cleaning the crime scene. They were moving all of the belongings out of the crime scene and getting ready to flatten it to the ground so that nobody could ever investigate this property ever again. So yeah, that does look a little bit suspicious. It's a little strange. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I really do appreciate it. And if you liked my video, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. I really do appreciate it, and we'll see you next time.